Mm. Oh, oh, we're dancing in with another another host. This is Cynthia Phelps, guys. If you are not familiar with our amazing list of Amazon best-selling authors, for those of you who are watching, right, you know that Christine has been caretaking. So we're gonna mix some things up. So I'm running the show for the first time. We're gonna give some grace, right? I'm nervous, but I know it's gonna be amazing. And I have Cynthia here to co-host with me and to keep me company as we talk about physical wellness with our guests. So I will start with introducing you actually as Cynthia, since you're here with us. Would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners, and then I'll introduce myself and we can jump into what we're talking about.
Certainly. My name is Cynthia Phelps, and I am the founder of a company called Inner Ally. And I am fascinated with how we can use our own inner language to support ourselves so that we can thrive in life.
Mm, so important. I had one of my friends at the book signing, and they've been talking a couple of my friends at the book signing, and they've been talking about you and your inner ally. So I know it's amazing, and I know it's already helped so many people since we've been connected. And for everybody, I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial business owner, the founder of Shalo Glow, an all-natural handmade personal products company, and an Amazon bestseller with Women Connected in Wisdom. I'm a champion for your natural self-care and practical business systems. Like we mentioned today, we're talking about physical wellness, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and give us our definition so that we can jump into the conversation. Physical wellness is the ability to maintain a quality of life that allows you to thrive in your daily activities without undue fatigue or physical stress. Physical wellness recognizes that our daily choices, habits, and behaviors have an impact on our overall health, well being, and quality of life. When you think about physical wellness, Cynthia, and inner ally, I think about how your emotional state affects how your body feels, right? So if you're talking to yourself kind of, I call it out the side of your neck or to the left, that'll affect how you feel and your physical wellness, right? What do you think?
Absolutely. The more we understand about, especially the immune system, the more
Mm,
we realize that our emotional states, and particularly, stress and burnout, which I think we're going to be talking about today,
yes,
has a real negative impact on your physical well-being, on your heart health, on your risk for diabetes, and a whole variety of other ways it affects you physically.
right, right. And when you say that, I think about chronic illness, things that we can prevent. And in addition to preventing it, it's not just, oh, we're going to eat grass on a plate and not enjoy ourselves and force us into this lifestyle that is healthy. I still want to be enjoyable. I still want the things that I do to be enjoyable. I want to live in an enjoyable place. I want to enjoy myself. And when I think about that now, I always think about the inner ally cards. And I wonder what I would pick. Am I going to pick the grandmother that's nurturing and saying, "Oh, it's okay. It's okay. You'll do better next time." Or is it the cheerleader that's like, "Go, Shannon, go. You can do it." Yes. Yes. So, like Cynthia mentioned, guys, we were talking about freedom to flourish. And usually we have a little more time at the beginning of this conversation. But I'm super excited about how to do that, how to think about overwhelm, how to think about depletion. You guys know what Shalo Glow, that's what I talk about. Like, instead of overextending yourself and then we're ending up in a situation where all this is built up and we have a chronic disease, let's instead rewind, be proactive, and of course have freedom in the meantime. So, our guest today is Glenda Lane. She is married with to her soulmate with two girls, 11 and 13. So we bring people with wisdom from different places. She, excuse me, she helps women get off the hamster wheel of overwhelm and depletion, like we've been talking about, and get into their hearts. How are we going to get that freedom to flourish? And what do we need to do to get there? She's going to walk us through what she does and how she helps her people. So we're going to bring Glenda Lane onto the stage. Glenda, welcome to Women Connected.
Thank you. Thanks, Shannon. Hi, Cynthia. So good to be here with you both.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I would love to learn more about things that you do to specifically help people with overwhelm and depletion, especially high achievers, because we like to do things well. So if it's not A, how do we get freedom from that?
Yeah. Well, a lot of those behaviors that lead to overwhelm and depletion, or just even having the perspective of overwhelm, have a
Mhm.
lot to do with our protective patterning that we took on as children, due to the beliefs that we took on as children. And so, as an example, one of those patterns is people pleasing. Another pattern is putting everyone else first and yourself last. And for me, one of my big ones was I believe that I needed to prove my worth, and I call it my drug of choice because it really is no different, but my drug of
Yeah.
choice was through achievement,
Mm.
right? It's like if I can just keep getting, if I can just get it right, and if I can achieve and achieve and achieve, then I'll be good enough, right? Then I'll be worthy, all those things. And again, this was a very subconscious thing going on for me. I didn't realize it for so many years. But I think the first step really is awareness of ourselves and how we are actually operating in life, right? Like what is what's our default way of being, is another way of saying it, when we're not conscious. And so understanding what these patterns are, we don't have to necessarily know where they came from and all that, we don't have to go digging for that, but just to become aware of like what is really running the show here. And part of the problem with those, I call them protective patterns, because it's the ego's construct of how we believe we need to be in order to stay safe and loved, right? And so part of the problem with that is the more that we're engaging with those patterns, the more we lose touch with our true selves. We lose touch with listening, even to I don't know if sorry, Cynthia, I don't know, but maybe it's your inner ally, but really listening internally to your own intuition, your own inner wisdom, your body wisdom. So I talk a lot about that. We lose touch with what's important to us, what we want, versus when we're putting everyone else first. It's very easy to lose sight of, well, what is it that I actually desire? What really matters to us, and our values. If we're trying to be something we're not, or be someone that we think we should be because it's expected of us, then we can lose sight of what really matters to us, and our true nature. And then also, like, why we're here. Why are we here on this planet? What is my mission, so to speak? Why am I, what is the gift that I am, as to why I'm here on the planet right now at this time? And so all that, those protective patterns, and then the limiting beliefs or the mistruths that we are believing about ourselves, all of that colors the lens that we look at life with. And so when we are in that world, we're not being our true selves. In fact, we forget who we really are, you know? And so for me, I really look at my work with women as assisting them to remember the truth of who they are, because the truth of who you are never goes away. The essence of who you were when you came into human form, has always been with you. But it's kind of like, when the sun is behind the clouds, you can't see the sun. So you're like, well, where is it? And I can't feel it. And so it isn't there, but it is. It's just there's clouds in the way. And that's what happens with all these limiting beliefs and protective patterns. It clouds, us being able to be in touch with who we really are.
Absolutely. I love how you say that. And I can definitely attest to that being true. You know what, both of you ladies, the work that you do, I can attest to it being true, and how knowing about your work has helped with that, because assisting them to remember. I remember when I stepped down from my salary position, and I stepped down because my mom was sick. And so I have more time, right? I'm not running the kitchen, doing schedules, doing these things anymore. Now I was only serving. And so it made me realize how much that I wanted for myself that I had forgotten. And I said,
Yeah.
wow, if I'm really intentional about it, if I have a psychology degree and I know these things could happen, the limiting beliefs. So I tried to, again, prevent that. And I still forgot, thinking that I was doing what I needed to do to remember. Then people are in danger of losing themselves and being gone for a certain amount of time and not even realizing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I call that survival mode.
Definitely.
And I would say the vast majority of the population is living that way, and it's part of the human journey, actually. I mean, we come into human form as this pure essence of who we are. And then somewhere between the age of 4 and 7, we have an experience where all of a sudden where we experience hurt in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And we go, well, wait a second. The world's a scary place and people can be mean. I need protection. And that's when the ego comes on board. And that's when we start believing things about ourselves. We make the experiences that we have, we give them meaning. We make them mean something about ourselves and about the world. But the problem is a lot of times those are, what's the word? It's a misinterpretation of what has actually gone on, because you're a little
Yes.
one. You're age 4 and 7, between 4 and 7. You're not really understanding of what's happening. But that's around the age where things start to change. And, in working with my clients, it's interesting because they'll say, yeah, I said, how were you as a 3-year-old? And they're like, well, I don't remember, but here's what I was told. And here's pictures of me. And I said, and then, in working with them, we discover kind of what their first core experience was when things started to change. And from that point forwards, they weren't maybe as playful as they had been because they got in trouble for it, or they weren't as vocal as they had been because they got in trouble for it, or whatever, right? And so we learn to kind of package away those parts of ourselves that we then deem as not okay because they got us into trouble. And so then that's denying like who we really are. And we take on these different ways of being to try and stay safe and loved. And so, yeah, I mean, it really is. And this is called, when we start to move away from who we really are and engage in these protective patterns, it's actually referred to as the great forgetting. Right? It's the great
I don't think
forgetting
I
of,
had heard of that.
of who we really are. And so, and then of course we go into becoming teenagers and then into adulthood. And it depends on like what your soul signed up for in this journey, what your soul's path is in this lifetime. Then as adults, if it is, your soul's journey to become aware of your patterning and what have you, then
Right.
they call it the great remembering.
Mm-hmm.
As we come back to being who we really are, instead of playing these roles that we thought we had to, and instead really getting in touch with, well, who am I when I'm not believing this about myself, when I'm not believing I'm not enough? Who
Right.
am I when I'm not people pleasing? Who am I when I'm not, because we even identify with those patterns.
Mm-hmm.
We call ourselves people pleasers. We call ourselves perfectionists. We call ourselves, right? We
Mm-hmm.
identify with them, but they're not who we are. They're just behaviors. They're just habits.
Right.
Right. So when we start to become aware of this, then we can start getting back in touch with who we really are. And that's the great remembering.
Yes.
And then there are some of us that will not have that great remembering in this lifetime. And that's okay too. Right. We'll just go through life not being aware. And that's totally fine. That's kind of, your soul's journey in this lifetime.
But I feel like that's tragic though. And
It is.
I feel like it's almost on the level with faith. Like everybody has the option to choose to believe or not believe. And you have the opportunity in life to make those decisions at different times, right? I
Yeah.
feel like it's the same thing with yourself. And I'm interested to see what you say with Inner Ally, Cynthia, and working on these things with yourself and the things that you're healing from. Because I think that you do get to choose either Glenda Lane and what she needs or myself. And each day that stacks up. What do you think, Cynthia?
Well, I think, Glenda, you're just really on the right track. This
Mm,
all resonates for me for
Yeah.
sure. And I just want to hear more about, how do you work with these women to kind of get down deep into like what's really what have we hidden? What do we put all
mhm.
those layers on top of it?
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
excavate?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm going to talk about excavation.
Ooh, I like
One
that.
of the things I want to say, Shannon, though, was really about we get to choose, and I agree with you, but only if we have awareness. So with
Absolutely.
awareness comes choice. If we
Mhm.
don't have awareness, we can't choose differently because we're not aware that there's anything different to choose.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes, I
So
agree.
living in, I'll say living in survival mode versus flourishing,
Mhm.
there's so many people that don't even know that there's two different states of being.
Yes.
They don't even know what survival is and that there is such a thing. They don't know what flourishing is and that there is such a thing and that we
Mhm.
actually do have choice. And I think that's one of the reasons why I do this work and why I love talking about it, is
Yes.
because I want to like shout that from the rooftops and say, look, we do have a choice. And,
Yes.
I truly believe we're not here to suffer and struggle
No.
I mean, I think that's part of our humanness, that
Yes.
and the ego, that's part of survival. But when we can move into flourishing, um, more so, there's less suffering, there's less struggle because we're more in alignment with what's true for us.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's why I love talking about the 8 dimensions of wellness, right? Because
Hmm.
no, you're not crazy about talking about work all the time. It's a whole
Yeah.
dimension of wellness that we should
Yeah.
consider and have places that we can be aware and intentional in,
Yeah.
and Cynthia, that's why I love what you do with the inner ally, because even if, like you said, Glenda, 4 to 7, now I'm
Yep.
going back to 4 to 7, like, oh, I got divorced at 4 to 7. That makes sense
Hmm.
why things, and of course I wasn't the one that was married, but
Yeah.
that's where I was in that moment of my life. So, um, when I think about the inner ally and what I could have every day, I think that it really can help women with the way that they process things. Like you said, Glenda, is this
Hmm.
really something that's me? Maybe I am treating myself harshly, or is it really something I should separate? That I made this situation me. I made this situation my parent, and then took it personal and didn't understand the context, and then I
Right.
changed the definition of who we were for a decade or two.
Yeah.
That's really important, and I think that's how Inner Ally is amazing at helping people do that.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think I mean, we've all done it.
Yeah.
As children. An example I give is like, okay,
Yeah.
you're running around and you're playing and you're dancing and you're having fun and you happen to knock over your mom's favorite vase and it shatters. And depending on your mom, it could be anything from the look she gives you
Yeah.
or the look you see on her face
Mm.
to being sent to your room, being yelled at, punished, whatever the thing.
Yeah.
And you can interpret that experience meaning that mom doesn't love me, or that I mustn't be good enough because I was then punished,
Right.
that I can't be playful and dance around and have fun because look what happens, I get into trouble, like just all the things. So we all have our own version
Yes.
of what's happened to us, but I think where we're all unified is that we've all had experiences of some description where we misinterpreted what happened and then made it mean something that wasn't true, and then we start to believe these
Absolutely.
mistruths about ourselves. But yeah, I wanted to go back to Cynthia. You mentioned about is that okay? Can I answer any
Absolutely.
question? Okay.
Please.
You talked about getting to the root of things and excavating. And my original training when I was learning to read energy was about excavating. It's
Mm.
kind of like, okay, let's go find the thing that is at the root of all of this. And part of what was, I think, driving me
Mm.
was at that time was this idea that I was broken and I needed fixing. Right. So if I can just find the thing that's broken, and if I can just fix that, then I'll be good. And what I've really learned over the years, what I've really experienced now, and what I've come to is that we're not broken. We don't need fixing. We're whole and complete. We've just had these experiences where we took on these beliefs and where we took on these behaviors, and it's not we're not flawed in any way. We're whole and complete beings. And so the excavating work for me has really changed. What I do now is with my clients is really we get in touch with what their desires are. Like, what is it? And I help, and I have to help people with this because I even remember myself when I was asked the question years and years ago, like, what are your dreams, Glenda? What is it you desire? I didn't have an answer because I was so in the people pleasing mode. I was so in the, like, I'd lost touch with myself in terms of like who I was and what I desired. So sometimes it takes a little bit, but when we get to, what are you yearning for? How do you want to feel? What is it that you want to experience and create? And then that sets the trajectory for where we're going. It's kind of like the beacon of light that sort of is inspiring us forwards. And for us to have our desires, like I truly believe that our desires are being dreamed through us and they are for us. So what I mean by that is if you have a desire, it's for you and it's for you to actually receive. But we can get in the way of that happening in a myriad of ways. But when we start moving, taking steps, and this is where it's about co-creation with God, universe, source. I call it Gus just because it's just easier to put whatever word you want to use, right? And not being irreverent in any way. It's just my
Right.
way of trying to address all the different ways that people talk about this higher consciousness,
I get it.
right? And
Yeah.
so it's this co-creative dance with Gus of like, okay, here's my desire. The minute you have a desire, that's your ask. Then it's okay, Gus receives that. It's like you're placing your order and then sends to you the opportunities, the people, the experiences that will assist you in moving towards your desires. Now, of course, it's up to us to be in the space to receive them and to then take those steps. And then the next one is revealed. So it's kind of like you take a step, Gus takes a step. You take a step, Gus takes a step. And so as we're taking those steps towards our desire, we are becoming more of our true selves, right? It's who we become along the way versus actually getting to that destination. It really is about the journey and not the destination. But I would add it's about who you are becoming along the way. And if I have, and your desires are resonating at a certain frequency, it's the reason, and you're resonating at a certain frequency because we're all energetic beings. And so the reason it isn't here right now is because we're out of resonance, right? We're out of alignment. And so for us to become resonant for our desires as we're taking these steps, all the stuff that is not resonating with where we're headed is going to organically come up to leave. So that's why I don't believe in excavating and going and looking for what do we need to like, fix or heal or shift or change. It literally comes up into your awareness. And so, I'll call these catalysts as an example. So a catalyst is typically something that you don't like. We can call it contrast,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
People will call it the problem or an
Mhm.
issue or whatever.
Tension. Right.
Yeah, you get triggered, you get
Yeah.
like whatever it is. That is one of the biggest gifts that we're given. And here's why, is because we're being shown that, hey, something's out of alignment, right? Something's out of alignment and there's more clarity here for you. Something's asking to be changed. There's actually more love and freedom on the other side of this situation. And then if it's coming up as an emotion, I take people through, it's called an emotional alchemy process, where I take them into their body. It's a very somatic practice of feeling fully that emotion, which requires you need to feel safe in order to fully feel. So there's some of that, we have to lay the groundwork so that people can really go into that vulnerable space of just letting themselves not only feel, but express it. Whatever movement wants to happen in your body, whatever sound wants to come out of your mouth, and breath, we use a lot of that to really be with what we're feeling. And then what tends to happen, because emotions are just energies and they want to move. And these emotions that are coming up often have been suppressed for years, right? Often it's not even the catalyst that's coming up right now that it's from. It's just the excuse for emotions from your past that we've suppressed to come up, right? And so we get to feel them through and give them the attention and the space that they're asking for so that they can move through our bodies. And then we come to this place, I call it neutrality, right? Where there's no charge. And then we get really curious, right? So after we felt in with the body, then we get curious about, when have I felt this way? What's my first memory of feeling this way? Or what am I believing that has me feel this way? And this is where I guide my clients, because it's different each time, right? That's what I love about the work, is that it's different with every person and it's different every time. And sometimes we go into past lives. Sometimes we go into childhood stuff. Sometimes it is just amazing where it can go. But basically we get to the root belief that we've been believing, and then we get to see that it's not true, right? We get to kind of see how, oh my goodness, I can really see that me being sent to my room for breaking the vase meant that I wasn't worthy, or meant that that mom didn't want to be around me, or like whatever it is, and that I mustn't be good enough. And then we get to see that we've collapsed the meaning of the experience with who we are, and that it's not true. And then we get to like, okay, well, what is the truth? What actually is the truth? And really tapping into that, not just from a headspace, but so you can literally feel it in your body, because truth feels light and expansive, and lies feel heavy and contractive in your body. And so when I'm working with someone, it's very cool, because I not only see the shift in them, but I can feel like, oh my, the expansion happening. And then from that new place of truth, then it's like, is there anything to do? Is there a step to take? And that's where the aligned action step comes in. It's from this place of truth, not from what we were believing before. And it's such a beautiful process. And what I see a lot of is people skipping to the what's at the root of this before they've felt. So because we've not been taught how to be with our emotions. A lot of people are afraid of them for good reason. That's what they've experienced in the past. There's all sorts of beliefs that, oh my goodness, if I let myself really feel this sadness, I'll become depressed. Or if I really feel this anger, I'm going to become this angry person. Like I'll stay stuck in it and I won't come out of it. We also give it meaning. We'll just say anger as an example. We'll judge the anger, and then we'll judge ourselves for feeling the anger. And then we'll judge ourselves, maybe even for judging ourselves, potentially. And then we'll make up a story about it, right? It's amazing how we'll go down this rabbit hole of, oh my God, and then I'm going to be this angry person. And then, my partner is then going to hate me and is going to leave me, and I'm going to be alone and destitute on the street, right? Like we can go down this rabbit hole.
I like to call it zero to homeless in 60 seconds.
Yeah. There you go. Totally.
That makes sense.
Right. But it's all just story creation in the mind. And so when we can assist people in seeing that, no, that's not the truth, right? And it's actually safe. And here's what we're going to do. And I'm going to guide you through this. And so it's really helping people be with their emotions in a beautiful, loving, compassionate way, versus any form of judgment or resistance, because that's when we actually stay stuck in the emotion. That's when it doesn't move, because judgment is a form of resistance, and what we resist persists, right? So we just keep swimming in that same old, and so it doesn't allow those energies to move. And I know this is about physical health today, and really I'm also a physical therapist. I've been doing that for 33 years, and in addition to the energetics coaching that I do. And what I have now really come to see is that all physical symptoms, whether it's a symptom, dysfunction, disease, have a root energetic cause. And so really what is showing up in our bodies, I believe our bodies are the messenger of our soul, and our soul speaks to us through emotions, through physical sensations such as pain, tension, nausea, whatever, anxiety, even, right?
Right.
And then also dysfunction and disease.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it is manifesting in our physical bodies, it's our soul's way of saying, look here, right here, be with this. And so now, even in physical therapy, I'm helping them on a physical level. And also we go into, okay, what is at the root of this? Right? What is actually, and what emotions are here, and what is being asked for our presence, our loving presence with this. So I think that's why, I was saying before we even came on the show today, Shannon, that I
Yes.
don't see physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health as separate. And
Mhm.
they're just so intertwined, because at the end of the day, we're energetic beings. Everything's energy. And so are our bodies. And so we can't really separate that out, although that has been what's kind of, if we look at a medical model, what has been looked at before,
Right.
right? But we're whole beings. And I think that to me, that's the future of medicine, is energetic medicine, and really looking at,
Mm.
I'm not going to just treat this knee issue. It's like, okay, what else is here? What else are you experiencing emotionally, mentally, all those things? What are you believing? What are you feeling? To be able to treat the whole person, right? And get to the roots so that you have lasting change. And so, I that can be hard for some people to wrap their heads around, and even in my profession, right? Like it's on the newish side of things to be believing that. But just through experience and learning about energetics and all of that, I mean we just have to look, even look at Chinese medicine, medical acupuncture,
Mhm.
which I've been practicing for years. That's energy. That's energy, and now that's much more accepted
Mm.
than it ever has been, right? It used to be considered an alternative medicine. Now it's a complementary medicine and is
Mm.
used worldwide. And all sorts of studies have been done and shown, the results of it. So I'm just using that as an example, but even more is coming on board for us to be able to really assist people uh, at an energetic level as
Right.
well.
Glenda, do you work with people on a one-to-one basis and doing physical therapy with them? And so you have a private practice where you're able to do all of this. Oh, that's just lovely.
Yeah. So I work 2 days a week at a physical therapy clinic, and that is what I bring everything. I mean, like I said, I have 33 years of I started out in sports, actually, and working with athletes, and have brought that full circle to what I do now. So it's for those that are open to it, right? So not everyone who comes in the door is going to be open and desiring that, and that's totally fine. But for those that are, yeah, we get to go deeper into it, and so it's been really fun. So yeah, 2 days a week I do that, and then the other days are my intuitive energy coaching that I do,
Kind
both
of just
in group.
working from the other direction, right?
Yes, yeah, totally, totally.
Well, I
So
sure wish I could have had you as a physical therapist when I was in physical therapy.
oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a different way of working, and I love it. Like, I don't know that I could go back to just the physical anymore. Um, and and honestly, so this is going, maybe taking it a little woo, I don't know, but I really believe that, each of us is, because we're energetic beings, we're emanating light codes, right? And so who I am, if I'm in my heart and I'm in my truth, then I am emanating those codes of love and truth. And so anyone that I am in physical presence with are going to receive that. They're going to feel, whether they're aware of it or not, they're going to receive that on some level. And so just your very beingness with clients is an activation in itself before you even do anything, right? Whoops.
I can totally see that, how you being aligned within yourself, within these things that you're talking about, from the
Yeah.
physical to the mental to the spiritual, how that would have an effect on the people around you.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like I try to walk my talk as much as I can. And one of my One of my little mottos is body before business.
Mm,
And so, my day starts with, before I even get out of bed, I do a meditation that uses certain energy tools to really connect in and really feel sort of connected, getting into my heart gratitude for all that I have. And then really, looking at my day and like, what do I want to experience? How do I want to feel? So it's really starting the day with that. And then I get up and I do yoga, stretching, or strength workout, and then I walk. I go outside and I walk, and I'm not plugged in. I'm just sort of present with the day, or I'm listening to things that really remind me of who I am. The divinity that I am, and really getting me into feeding me in that
yeah.
way. And then what my husband and I have just started doing recently are cold plunges, so that I come home from my walk and I do a cold plunge. And so all of that is happening before I start work. And it's become non negotiable for me, because it's like I'm taking care of, yes, my physical body, but also my spiritual body, my mental body, my emotional body, so that I can be in alignment when I start my day, and be excited, be in that state of creativity, and that's when things tend to come to me much better. So
Yes. I
yeah.
I
love it.
think that's the title for your next book, right? Body before business.
Yeah,
I wish
maybe.
somebody would have told me that like 10 years ago.
Mm,
Right. And I haven't always practiced that. I'll be honest, but
yeah.
it's now non-negotiable for me. It's kind of one of those things. And also, I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of my other things is that your body is your best friend.
Mm,
Your body's giving you constant feedback about whether you are in alignment or not. Right? It's you just have to tune into your body, and that's why I'm such a fan of assisting women to come out of their heads into their hearts and their bodies, to really feel, to really be in touch with their own knowing and their own intuition, because that's what your truth is. And when you make decisions from that place, when you choose, right, from that place, then that's when everything just, that's where ease and flow
mhm.
happens, right?
I love it. And I
Yeah.
love what you said about loving presence with yourself.
Mhm.
The way I think about the eight dimensions, because you're right, it is important not to just go out here and working on stuff and personal development in a unhealthy way,
Right.
consuming information and not applying it, maybe applying the wrong information at the wrong time, or even the right information at the wrong time might
Mhm.
put you in a worse position in this dimension that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
So coming from a place of being centered, of standing in your truth and emanating that energy, like you said, and saying, okay, why am I even like, let's use COVID, right?
Mhm.
Again, I had stepped down, I was a server, and I said, why am I frustrated in these conversations? Conversations with the leasing office, conversations or that I was trying to have with unemployment that hadn't come in yet, and realizing how I felt in my body said, oh, I need to work on financial wellness, right? My
Mm.
physical said something like you said, but financial wellness, I need help in. And so that's when I started looking up stuff on SBA.com and things about different financial tools and every dollar budget that I use now and things to put in place to start automating stuff so that I
Yeah.
could use less energy, as far as everyday habits, right? But that had to be looked at, and it has to be, I think, decided from a healthy place, or us work. That's when we hear the stories about us working on ourselves and how it doesn't help us get to the place we need sometimes because we're doing it in a certain way. And that's why, again, Cynthia, I know I keep saying this, but that's why I love Inner Ally so much. I don't get to tell you as much as I think about you and your cards, but doing that on the days that it's difficult, making sure that you pour into yourself, like you're talking about, Glenda, like it has to be
Yeah.
non-negotiable. Today, I've had some pineapples. You're way too far left for how much energy you're pouring out. And I can
Yeah.
definitely see the difference in how the day is going. But if I think about how I'm talking to myself, okay, well, what do grandma said, well, what do you need now? What would you like to eat? What can I get for you? And then go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I
Yeah,
I fully agree.
I
Yeah.
hear you. I hear you.
Mhm.
So
So,
when you think of
Glenda, I'm
Mm.
curious about You say that you work with high achieving women, which clearly I could see would really benefit what you have to
Yeah.
offer.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit more about who's the right fit for you.
Yeah, high achieving women, because I've been one of them, I can really relate. And right. And a lot of times, and I don't want to make, achieving is not bad. Don't get me wrong, it's not. But when it's costing our health and well-being, that is, that's my story, right? So um, I had, I've had being diagnosed with hormonal imbalances, digestive disorders, chronic neck and back pain. I've had 6 melanomas now. I had 3 miscarriages. I've had adrenal burnout, like all the things. And it was because of this pressure I was putting on myself to prove my worth through achieving. And so I can really relate to other women that are doing the same because I've been there. And I think that's why I say that I help high achieving women. But I think I would add also really big hearted women, very compassionate women, because people who really care, we tend to give in a really big way. And giving isn't bad. It's just there tends to be this energetic imbalance that can often occur because giving is energy out and receiving is energy in. And so when we are being the givers all the time, there's this energy moving out, and it's just one of the ways that we become depleted. And so high achieving women, because that is my story. I know what it's like to be type A. I know what it's like to be driven and all the things, but it actually isn't my true nature. It's really fascinating, right? Like that's who I thought I was. And that's certainly I received accolades for it. I mean, why else do we do these things? But I'm now at a point where I'm like, if I have a goal or have a desire and I want to achieve it, it's because I want to, not because I feel I have to or that I need to, right? It's more of this, no, this is what I truly desire to experience for myself. And so a lot of the overwhelm and depletion that we see in the burnout is from these energetic imbalances of the high achieving women also tend to get caught up in this go, 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 do. And and that's an energy. And again, often from a place of feeling like they're not enough. That's right. And it's like you get the next achievement and you're like happy for 2 seconds. It's like, okay, what's next? Right. Like, let me get to the
I
next
have no
thing.
idea what you're talking about, Glenda.
No. Right. It's like, oh yeah, I celebrate. Yeah, I celebrate for maybe 20 seconds. And then I'll, okay, what's next?
Yes.
Right. Or this feeling of, okay, everything's great now, but the other shoe's going to drop if I don't like
Blah, blah,
progress
blah.
or move
Yeah.
up or like whatever it is.
Right. No.
Right. And so it's, oh God, it's exhausting just talking about. So, so anyway, it really is this go, go, go. And it's what we call the distorted, I call it the distorted masculine energy, the hyper
Mm.
masculine energy of, because doing is masculine energy. And so, we tend to then, and being is feminine. And all of us have feminine and masculine energy in us, regardless of what gender we are.
Right.
But we as women, there's this, the more we go into the masculine, the more I think we lose touch with who we really are, that feminine essence that lives in us. And it's this, again, this state of just overdoing and exhausting and not relaxing into just being. And being is the state of receiving. Right? When we're go, 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 it's almost like a push away energy. And it's also like saying to Gus, no, I got this. I don't need your help. Like I got to do it all by myself and I got to get it right. And I got it right. Like I'm not going to even pause to be given to. So there's that side of it. And then what I also see though, is I would call it distorted feminine. And the distorted feminine is really about this idea of sacrifice, almost servant girl, because we're amazing nurturers. But there's this like nurturing at the cost of ourselves at the cost of our health and well-being. And I've just really, like I just said to someone the other day, I said, look, it's not okay if it's costing your health and well-being. It never is okay
Mhm.
if it's costing your health and well-being.
Right.
And so we've been so taught to put ourselves on the back burner and take care because we're very good at it,
Mhm.
right? Of nurturing. And it's not that we can't nurture, but also let's nurture ourselves and make ourselves a priority in that, because, well, we all know that, if we've got an empty tank, how can we help and nurture anyway? We don't have anything left to give.
Mm-mm.
So it really is sort of filling up our own tank first with, you know, our own essence, our own energy, and really being in this place of solidity within ourselves. And then we can give from that overflow that comes from that. So I tend to see women either in the hypermasculine overdrive, do, or the distorted feminine of where we've been also taught that you're not a good person unless you're putting others ahead of yourself. We see it in religion, we see it in cultures, we see it, right? It's very pervasive, right?
Yes.
And so now it's like, to me, it's like, no, let's come back to the divine feminine, the divine masculine. So the divine masculine is about structure and systems and direction and
Mhm.
support. And then the divine feminine is about the flow and the creativity and love,
Mhm.
right? And so I've described this before as, if you think of the riverbanks, right? Think of the riverbanks as being the divine masculine, right? It's guiding where the river flows, and the river is the feminine. So if we didn't have the divine masculine holding the feminine and guiding, then we would just have a mess. We would just have like this mess of water everywhere. There wouldn't even be a river. And then if we just have the banks, but we don't have the feminine and the flow, then we don't have a river happening either, right? And so it's this both, and
Yeah.
it's who we're being in the divine feminine as we are doing, which is the masculine. And so it's the combination of the two, not just the doing or just the being. It's like, let's bring those together. And it's that dance and
Yes.
support. Yeah.
I love how you I wanna say combine them, but it's not you that decided to do that, right? That's the way that it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But when you say you pour into yourself, the things that you do for your mind, body, and spirit, and making sure that you're full before you get the influence and all the chatter of everybody else's voice and their energies and where they are,
Yeah.
right? For me, that's going with the flow, and that's the feminine of being and accepting that the whatever is left in the 24 hours as far as the time of the day is gonna fit whatever needs to be here,
Yeah.
right? And then for me, I flipped to the doing side by organizing the stuff written down, right? Trying to
Yeah.
be a certain amount of time ahead so that I don't have to be frantic on the day. Oh, what do I need to do? And now you feel behind. And
Right.
then if you separate it, like Christine always talks about in her first book, the sorting and separating, well, this is not me, this is the situation. And then you notice, and instead of judge, like you said, that's something we talked about with Laura Madison, I believe. And it really helps me not judge myself and then end up in the judging yourself or judging yourself cycle, like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
"Oh, why did I end up here? Oh, well, I only had pineapples. I didn't have my time this morning." These are
Right.
reasons. How do we make it a non-negotiable? And
Yeah.
that's what's changed my life for me, coming from truth and saying, this is a lie. This is not what happened. This is who I want to be. What dimension do I need help with? And then who do I need to connect with in that field that can help me if I have questions? Or how do I need to reconnect with myself, be a better inner ally, make the non-negotiable, say, hey, you're going to show up for yourself even when you
Yeah.
show up for everybody else. And that, I believe, is a great recipe when it's followed to make stuff sustainable, like you say, so we
Yeah.
can flourish and be free. That's a beautiful picture, and I feel like sometimes women feel like it's impossible to get there with all the things on the to-do list. And that's why I'm super excited for you to be here today, Glenda, to lay out how you help high achieving women do that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's my joy. It's like my passion. And, um, we are here to flourish. We all are. And so it's just a matter of being shown the way.
And we
right?
can
And I was shown the way, and I
yes.
get to help others. So yeah.
And like you said, if you're not aware that you don't know the way, or you're on the wrong path, and we're in the wrong energy with the wrong people, then what happens, you know? So
Yeah.
genuinely sharing our story, sharing what happened and where we were in the situation. I hear you on all the things you listed. Thank you for sharing, you know, and for
Hmm.
continuing to help women after that. So by doing that, somebody in your community can say, no, this is obvious, but for me, it may have been a blind spot, and then we can fix it and keep going.
Yeah,
So
beautiful.
every day, we like to give a wisdom and action when we're on the show for what we're going to do for that dimension of wellness intentionally for ourselves this week. So, for this week and physical wellness, what are you ladies working on?
Hmm. For me, so I started wearing a Fitbit, my daughter's Fitbit, a while, I think about a
Okay.
month ago now, because I was just curious. I was like,
Yeah.
I wonder actually how many steps I do walk in a day.
Right.
And noticing on the days where I actually go out for walks, on the days where I might be more sedentary at work, I was just curious about it. And
Mhm.
it's been interesting, but wearing it has actually got me out the door more. It has actually got me walking. And so that has been awesome. And now I'm starting to add back in some strengthening because when I started the walking, I decided I'm just going to focus on that for a month, and then I'm going to build back in my
Good.
strength routine. So
Yes.
for me, my focus, what I'm adding on to is starting to bring back more of uh, the strengthening aspect for my body, because that's about solidity too, right?
Yes.
When you're strong and supported in your core and in your body, then you can be strong and supported in your, you know, in your inner world as well. So that
Absolutely.
they both reflect each other.
I love that.
Yeah.
Strengthening. Okay.
Mhm.
What about you, Cynthia?
I think one of the things I'm working on that counts as a physical wellness is really getting out into the sunshine.
Yeah.
And I have been doing gardening, and whenever the weather turns to spring around here in Asheville, North Carolina,
Yes.
the trails and everything turns green, and there's
Yeah.
flowers everywhere. And getting out in nature, with my dog, walking some trails. This is a practice of physical wellness, but it's also
Yes.
just like it soothes my soul as well.
Yeah.
Hmm. It's
Definitely.
beautiful. Asheville is gorgeous. I love it
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And it definitely counts. The fresh air, you're walking,
Hmm.
you're outside, like you said. We talked about the emotional, and I think both of you ladies are great. And I love too how you said, Glenda, that you didn't do everything at the same time, that you
No.
gradually got back into it. I think that's super important, right?
Yeah. Gradual's the
Lee.
way for sure.
Mhm. I
Yeah. How
like
about you,
that.
Shannon?
And that's what I might change it. I like what you said. Gradual is the way. You know, I think that what I know is I have been outside, so I've been getting the sunshine. I've been working on working out. My goal is to run 4 times a week. And last year I had
Nice.
changed it, right? Talking about steps because I had started working. I had went back to salary managing for a minute before I stepped into the businesses. So working all these hours as a salary manager, my feet when I went running were like,
Mm.
no, we're not going up this hill. We went up enough hills. And I looked at the steps. There were like 10,000 steps a day, 12,000 steps a day. So it's crazy. So I was thinking maybe run 4 times a week. Um, I think I'm going to say make it a non negotiable because that's where I've been with my stuff. I've gotten
Yeah.
off of the journaling a little bit. Like I said, I'm definitely off the checklist of eating and making sure that you are filled up before you're pouring out. And I've been having that conversation with myself like, hey, you said you're going to do this. Make sure that you do what you say you're going to do for yourself. So make it a non
Yeah.
negotiable.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yes,
Love
yes.
it.
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much, ladies, for being here. Glenda, I will
Mhm.
pop you back in the green room. And thank you let's actually share again. I know we talked about how everybody can find you, but I want to
Yeah.
make sure that everybody who's listening and that is watching has your website. And can you also tell them before you go about the freebie that you have for us and what you have coming up in
Yes.
May?
Yeah. So I have a gift for everyone. It's called the Three Secrets to Get Off the Hamster Wheel and Flourish for High Achieving Women. And if you go to www.giftfromglenda.com, you can receive that. And then I'm also like super excited. This is a free event that I have coming up in starting
May.
May 8th.
Yes.
And it's called Flourish, the 5-day transforming stress experience. So it's going to
Mhm.
run from May 8th to the 12th. And again, this is for women who they're just tired of stress running their lives, right?
Yeah.
And they just know that there's something more for them. They're like feeling this nudge, like, I want to flourish. Like, I don't want to just be surviving my life.
Right.
May even feel a bit disconnected and lost right now. And
Mhm.
so come join us. Fun is the flavor of this experience. I said, I'm not creating this unless it's going to be fun.
Right.
It will not be overwhelming, right? It's going to be bite size. Not only I'll be sharing some tools that can really assist you for
Yes.
life, actually, and really relax into being who you are in a way that's fun and it's experiential. So I'll be taking you through some exercises, some practices that can really assist, but they're easy. They're not going to be anything that's too much on your plate.
Yes.
So I not highly recommend. I would tickle me pink. I'd be
Yes.
so excited for anyone who wants to join. And to register for that, again, it's a free event. It's www.zoomwithglenda.com, and you can register there, and then you'll get on the list and receive all the information where you can come and play with other women that want the same as that
Yes.
really want to learn that. So I'm excited to be offering this event and to meet more amazing women, such as yourselves and
Thank you.
and our listeners. So yeah,
Yes. Yes, and I definitely highly recommend it. That sounds amazing to relax into being.
yeah,
I think that's very important right now. Very
yeah.
important. What about you, Cynthia? I would love for you to share your information as well so that everybody who's interested in inner ally, self-compassion, and your inner ally cards know where to find you.
I think the best place to find me right now is I have a Facebook group that is open. It's called Inner Allies, a plural of Inner Ally,
Mhm.
and you can search that on Facebook, and that's just a great place for you to join in the discussion of being kind to yourself.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful. Thank you again, ladies, for coming and sharing the stage with me and having this conversation about how to really flourish, especially with overwhelm and depletion. We want to make sure that we have the tools to do that. So thank you again. And in the meantime, guys, we will be back live next week for episode 112, actually, live at 5. In the meantime, be well, be wise, be whole. We'll see you soon. Peace.